Hello everyone, happy Thursday, and thank you for taking the time to join us for how to start a custom t-shirt business. So here are the hosts for today. We've got Jamie and Meredith. You may recognize them from our YouTube and Facebook videos.
Welcome everyone, thank you for tuning in.
Hope you guys are staying warmer than we are.
Yeah, it's a little cold here in St. Louis. So today's schedule. So today we're talking about how to start a custom t-shirt business. We are going to go over the various processes that you can use to start a t-shirt business. There are quite a few of them. There's some that we're not even including in this. We're going to first go over just some basic things of starting a small business in general. Then we're going to talk about starting a custom t-shirt business with heat transfer vinyl. We're going to talk about inkjet heat transfer paper. We're also going to talk about laser heat transfer paper using a white toner printer, such as a Creo printer. Then we're going to get into sublimation, direct to garment, finally talk about financing. So we've got a lot on the docket today, so let's just go ahead and dive in. So the first thing we just kind of wanted to just touch on is the basic steps to starting any kind of small business. So the first thing that you need, of course, is an idea. What are you going to create? Obviously t-shirts, but you're going to want to come up with some kind of idea of what kinds of t-shirts you want to create. Specifically, come up with a targeted niche, and you can brainstorm your own ideas. You can look to see what other popular companies are doing in the industry and whatnot, but you got to start with an idea. The next thing to go from there is you need to come up with some kind of business plan. What is the purpose of your business? Who are you selling to? Who are your target customers? And what are your end goals? And is there a demand for your product? These are questions that you're going to want to answer before you start your business. The next thing is you're going to want to assess your financing. Assess your finances, sorry. Do you have the cash on hand to just pay with cash? Or are you going to need some kind of financing? And at Coastal, we offer lots of great financing options that we'll cover at the end. The next thing that's important is you need to decide what's your location. Are you selling specifically online? Are you going to sell? Are you going to have an Etsy shop? Are you going to have? Are you going to sell via Facebook Marketplace? Or are you going to have a physical location? If you have a physical location, you're going to have to know where you're going to be because taxes differ in different states, counties, and cities. Next, you're going to want to know what kind of business structure are you going to have. I would suspect a lot of you either going to be doing something like a sole proprietorship or an LLC. And there are a lot of pros and cons with both of these. Sole proprietorship, extremely easy to get started. It's for low-risk businesses. The main disadvantage of doing a sole proprietorship is that you are liable for your business. So if your business were to ever get sued or to default, your personal assets are at risk. And that's why a lot of people will go for an LLC, which LLCs are going to be for businesses that have a little bit more risk, and you need a little bit more insurance, but you also have more startup funds. Next, you want to come up with a business name. If you have no idea, you can Google business name generators. There are a lot of things out there that can help you come up with a fun name. Seventh, you'll of course want to register your business. Registration requirements depends on the type of business organization that you choose for, whether it's a sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, corporation, etc. Once you have all of this started, of course, you're going to want to start and promote yourself. Even if you have just a physical location, you will want to be digital. You want to create a website. You want to come up with a logo for your business, and of course, you're going to want to capitalize on all the various social media platforms. See what works best for you. That said, let's get into starting a business with heat transfer vinyl.
Okay, yes, so first up is heat transfer vinyl. So this is one of the easiest methods to start making custom t-shirts. There's many different options, color options, there's different textures out there, manufacturers out there. So first off, what is heat transfer vinyl? It is a material for garment decoration, so you can use it on cotton, polyester. Certain ones are, you can use it on nylon. So always double check what you can use it on. It contains a heat-activated adhesive backing. That's activated once heat hits it with your heat press. Normally is what we would recommend. Designs are cut into vinyl using a vinyl cutter and then applied to the t-shirt. And then again, this product is available in a wide variety of colors and finishes. So you have gloss, semi-gloss, matte. There's flock out there. There's popular glitter out there. Stretch. There's metallic. There's foils that you can use as well. There's twill products out there as well. So a lot of different options.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of gets overlooked on heat transfer vinyl, folks that are doing sublimation and other printing methods, is with heat transfer vinyl, you can get lots of different textures, a lot of cool things that you can't actually print with,
right,
say, direct to garment or sublimation, like the glitter.
Glitter's fun. Yes.
Okay, so what equipment do you need? Well, of course, you're going to need a vinyl cutter, and we have several different models that you can choose from, and then a heat press. And some vinyls you can actually use a home iron, but again, for wearability and washability, we generally recommend the heat press. And then you're going to need your vinyl. And this comes in so many different colors and textures, as we just spoke about. But I mean, you literally have so many options with this. And I'm not sure if Jamie mentioned it, but you can also layer it. So if you have a multicolored logo, you can certainly use several different colors and layer it. We've got, techniques to make that a little bit easier. And then blank t-shirts. The benefit to doing heat transfer vinyl is you are not stuck with one type of material. You can use polys, you can use cottons, blends, any color. You just have to make sure your vinyl is darker than your t-shirt. The weeding tool looks very much like an old dentist tool, but you need a weeding tool or an X-Acto knife to make weeding a little bit easier. And then you'll need a computer. Some cutters out there are standalones, but with the Graphtec cutters and the cameos, the silhouettes, you will need a computer for your software.
Okay, so step one, to get started, you will need your design. So usually that's going to be an SVG that you're going to create within your program to get it ready to send to your cutter. Here, we would recommend, Silhouette Studio, Graphtec Studio, Brother Canvas Workspace. You can also use other design programs that you're comfortable with, as long as there is a plugin for that particular program. So here we show a picture of Nurse Life that is designed in the Brother Canvas Workspace. This is kind of gives you an idea of what the design will look like. It's not as, of course, detailed as a picture would be on a t-shirt, which we'll get into later, because again, it's vinyl. The next picture is going to be what the vinyl actually looks like. So this is a good representation of the carrier, which is going to be clear in most cases. Sometimes it's not clear. Adhesive backing, which again, that's going to be what goes onto your garment by heat. And then the finished vinyl side, which is going to be, of course, your texture, what's going to look like, the color you chose when you did that.
Okay, so how does it work? So you'll send your design to the cutter after basically setting your registration lines. So if you bring in like an SVG or clip art into your design space, it'll create registration lines. So basically it'll do an outline, which is why it is important to stick with sharp images like, SVGs or clip art. And it'll set those registration lines. Then you'll send it to the cutter and it'll actually cut around it. In the first picture here, we are showing the test cut. So we're checking the cutter prior to cutting, just to make sure that we've got the right depth, we've got the right speed and everything that we need for that particular vinyl. We do have guidelines online with each of our vinyl that kind of gives you an idea, and then we have other resources that we can send you to if you have a cutter that we don't actually carry. And then once it cuts around it, you're going to remove the excess, what we call weeding. So this is where your weeding tool is going to come into play. What you'll do is remove like the outer layer first, and it will leave your actual cut file, and it is cut into reverse or mirrored image. So when you're laying it down, your carrier sheet will be up, and a lot of the vinyl that we carry has a sticky carrier sheet, so it'll actually have a bit of a tack to it when you lay it down on the shirt, which will prevent it from slipping.
Okay, next up is heat pressing. So what you're going to do is you're going to flip your image around as it's shown in image 1, where the Nurse Life is basically facing you right reading. So make sure you also center it on your garment or choose the proper placement that you would like. Because once it is on there, it is very hard to remove unless you have a vinyl remover. Sometimes you may still have issues. But you're going to use the time, temperature, and pressure that is recommended by the company you purchased from or the manufacturer. So in this case, on this, we use Caesar Easy Weed. So we pressed at 305 degrees, a medium pressure at 15 seconds. And normally you're going to remove as a hot peel, but you can also remove as a cold peel, which means just let it sit and then just cool to the touch and then remove. And then if you're layering, that's when you usually just tack down for a second or two, remove the first layer. Usually we recommend up to 3 layers. And then your last layer is going to be the full time.
With layering the reason we recommend doing it for a shorter amount of time is it could shrink a little bit, and you want to make sure that your layers are lining up. So that's why we just recommend maybe a couple seconds just to basically tack it down, and then the full amount of time at the end. Whether you're doing layers or one color, once you've pressed it, and all of our vinyl will come with information sheets, so it'll tell you whether it's a hot peel or a cold peel, because it just varies with different vinyls that we carry. You'll remove it, when it's recommended to remove it, and then from there, you're good to go. It doesn't require a second press. It's just ready to go.
All right, and so that's basically how the heat transfer vinyl process works. And so here are some example startup costs that we thought we would share. So one of the most popular options to start out with is something like a Silhouette Cameo. So a Silhouette Cameo 4 is going to run you about $300. If you are looking to do even bigger, there is the Silhouette Cameo 4 Pro. There's actually technically a plus in between those, but there is a Silhouette Cameo 4 Pro. For just an extra $200, it's double the width. So we threw together some sample ideas of how much it would cost for you to start a business using heat transfer vinyl. And so everything totaled, you're looking at about a little over $700 for just the beginner setup. That includes the cutter, that includes a Hotronix craft press, that includes 5 yards of heat transfer vinyl to get you started, as well as the weeding tool that we mentioned. Now, obviously, we're not including t-shirts in this. We're also not including a computer, which you need. If you wanted to do something a little bit bigger, we put together this other little sample package here that includes the Pro, as well as a larger 15 by 15 heat press, same 5 yards of vinyl, weeding tool. You're looking at about $1,700. So we have one more option too. So if you are going to be doing a lot of cutting, you'll want to look at something like a Graphtec Cutter. So our Graphtec Cutter bundle we have here is $18.75 and includes 5 feet of each color, red, white, blue, black, as well as the weeding tool. And that plus a sizable heat press, which is a 16 by 20 heat press, you're looking at a little over $3 grand. Anything you'd like to add?
No, good packages, a lot of good options, different sizes. It really depends on what you want to start with. Size-wise, if you're ready to go with high production, we would probably then recommend you start out with a Graphtec, but it's all about what you and your business plan is.
Great. So there's a lot on this slide, and it's a good time for me to let you guys know that at the end of this webinar, I will be sharing all of the slides. You don't have to write this down. We'll go ahead and make the slides available for you. So Jamie, Mary, did you want to touch on some of the pros and cons for HTV?
Yeah. So pros, it is low startup cost. Cutters are, relatively cheap depending on which model you get. Heat press is going to set you up for other processes. So sometimes you might need to invest a little bit more in a heat press if you're wanting to get into, other processes out there that we'll go into. But for the most part, vinyl is, relatively cheap and you can have a high markup. So that's a great pro. Very easy to learn. Most of the software programs are just guided programs that are really easy. to get to know and learn, and then, set you up for success within that program. You can go on to multiple materials. The main ones being cotton, polyester, or a blend of the two. Again, there's certain ones, certain vinyls that can go on to, nylon, spandex. So always look out for which ones go on what fabrics that are compatible. And then another great benefit is light and dark colored garments. So that's always nice, just because you can get, more out of it. You can layer, which we already went over. So if you want to, do multiple aspects of the design, you can definitely layer. And it's not as heavy of a hand, depending on what you are working with. But some of the cons are you can't work with those photographs that, you might want to work with, or as much detail as you might want to work with. And the weeding can be time consuming depending on what your design is.
Some people like doing it though.
Yeah, I would say, weeding is I like weeding.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like putting together a puzzle.
Unless I mess up.
Except I'm doing a puzzle.
Yeah. I like weeding. Weeding's good. Anything you want to add in there, Meredith?
For pros, so many people, the t-shirts that just have the sayings on it and those types of things are so popular right now, and it's a very inexpensive way to kind of jump into that t-shirt world. Also, if you have, kids in sports or whatnot, you can definitely, throw their names on the back of their jerseys, or, offer to do the entire team. Something that Jamie and I have both done is we have other vinyl that, in addition to the heat transfer vinyl, but we've got the signed vinyl, and we label all of our kids' school supplies, put it on the backpack, put it on their jacket, slip it on the inside, and then that way, if they lose it, it finds its way back to you.
Very true.
Awesome. Moving on. Inkjet heat transfer paper.
So inkjet heat transfer paper is definitely a good introduction into the world of graphics. It's a lot less expensive than some of the other ways to do it. You can print it on a pigment ink printer such as an Epson Workforce, which can tend to be less expensive. And there are different papers that you can put on both light and dark, but it's definitely one of the least expensive ways to kind of jump in and really get started with that. Add the photographs to the shirts, add a colored logo, and that type of thing.
Okay, so Meredith's pretty much covered it in the slide before as to inkjet heat transfer paper. There's a lot of variety of papers out there for dark and light colored garments. So we're going to get into the process and equipment of what you need.
Elizabeth asked, can you hear us? I'm on my phone and scared to make noise. No, you can be as noisy as possible. We cannot hear you. Unlike if this were like a Zoom call. Okay, so equipment and supplies needed. So as Meredith touched on, inkjet printer with pigment-based ink. That's very important, as if you have a regular inkjet printer with dye-based, we've seen when you wash it, or sometimes even after you print it, the ink tends to run. So you usually have to be very careful with the ink as well. So we always recommend pigment-based ink with your inkjet printer. Again, a heat press is going to be very important for this process as well. Again, certain papers you can use an iron with, but for the best durability, that transfer just really hanging on to that shirt, it's really going to be recommended to use a heat press. You're going to need your inkjet heat transfer paper. Again, we carry for light and for dark colored fabrics. You're going to need your blank t-shirt, vinyl cutter. So vinyl cutter will come into play if you would like to cut around your design. The light transfer paper tends to leave a light film on the garment. The dark will have an opaque backing that you will want to remove if you don't want to do a full 8.5 by 11 sheet, say, because that white's going to show up on your dark shirt. So that's where the vinyl cutter will come into play to trim around your design. And then a computer and design program to assist you with the print, as well as, if you would like to use your vinyl cutter for the print and cut portion.
Oh, sorry about that picture there. I look like I'm in mid-sentence.
I'm sorry.
So how does it work? So you'll create your image in whatever design program you use. I believe here we're using Photoshop or Illustrator. It looks like Photoshop. Just bring your image in there. Now you'll see that there is a white opaque background. So the print that I'm holding up here is for a dark colored shirt. So we are using the Nina Jet Dark paper. And with this paper, it is good to go on just about any fabric. It has a little bit of a thicker feel compared to like the 3G opaque, which is specifically for cotton. Both papers are going to have that white background. So with this image, you can see would be very easy to cut with a cutter, but you could also definitely cut it out by hand, which is, you know, not a big deal. And then again, you're going to go to weeding that background off. So you are just transferring over your image and none of that background.
So step 2 is just going to take you through. So the first picture is, again, Meredith's trimming it with scissors. The second picture is, you know, this was an easy image to trim. So we're just kind of going over along all those lines. So then you just peel it right off and then place it on your garment. So when you place it on your garment, again, you're going to align properly on the shirt. You're going to, you know, either center it, or if you're doing, you know, left chest, you're going to, you know, put it in the proper position. So always make sure. And then you are going to press for the designated time. So again, always check your manufacturer, what they recommend for heat settings, as that is very important as well.
Okay. So how it works after you have this is actually the white paper. With the print that we just showed you, you'll peel it off of that carrier sheet and you will lay it with the image side up on a dark shirt and then cover it with a piece of transfer paper. What Jamie's doing here is showing our light colored paper on a white shirt or a light colored shirt, and this has a clear polymer background on it, so it will leave a bit of a residue, or again, you can trim around it. Not as important with this paper to trim super close to it, so if you just kind of, you know, rough it out just to eliminate some of that background, which does eventually wash off, but we like to trim it just to avoid that hand altogether. So with the white or light colored paper, you're going to lay that face down on your shirt, cover it with the silicone and press it.
Okay. And so again, you're going to remove off of the garment, and usually with this one, still a smooth, consistent motion just in case. And then you're going to usually repress with a silicone sheet for about 15 to 20 seconds is what I normally would recommend. And then you have one garment. So one personalized shirt ready to sell.
And again, here are some example startup costs. So the printer that we included here is the Epson Workforce 7820. It's actually a newer printer. I believe it's the successor to the 7110. I forget. So it's actually the successor to what a lot of people use for a converted sublimation printer. But by default, it comes with pigmented ink, which is what you want for inkjet heat transfer paper. So as you can see, these printers are very reasonably priced. This isn't something we sell. You'll have to get this through another channel. I don't know if they have these at Best Buy, but this is straight from Epson's website. What you also would want is a heat press, and then you want inkjet heat transfer paper. You probably want some for darks as well as for lights. So we added in those prices, and so if you don't need the cutter, and if you're just going to use scissors or something like that, or not trimming at all, you're looking at about $750 as a startup cost. If you want to add the cutter for more precise trimming, you're looking at about $1,000.
Thank you, Matthew.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for the pros, for inkjet heat transfer paper, again, this one has a low startup cost as well, just because of, you know, the printer, the ink, paper. And then very easy to learn. Again, this one requires a bit more software knowledge, I would say, just because of the graphics and, you know, certain aspects you want to, you know, put into your image, take out of your image. You can print full color photos though and designs. Again, if you you know, want to use a full 8.5 by 11 sheet or 11 by 7 sheet, you know, you can do so. But of course, the hand's going to be really thick, you know, on that full full sheets. You can go on to cotton polyester or blends as well, light and dark colored fabrics. And these do range about 20 washes, following, you know, the proper guidelines for washing heat transfers. So we always recommend inside out, wash on cold, no fabric softener or harsh detergents. Always best to hang dry, but of course most don't. So dry on low is usually what's recommended, and that's really going to give you the life out of the garment to ensure you have that proper, you know, full count washing.
Yeah, honestly, inkjet heat transfer paper is a bit overlooked. I mean, there are a lot of other processes that kind of steal the spotlight, but you can do a lot of cool things with inkjet heat transfer paper, and it's a really good starting place in full color printing.
It really is, yeah, because it's very easy. There's not a lot to the actual transfer process like there is on the next process we're getting into. So yeah, definitely easy to get into.
Yep. Cons?
So some of the cons would be that it does have that white square or block around it, so you'll definitely want to trim around it, again, just to enhance what your actual image is and to eliminate some of that feel. The darks do require the opaque paper, so I know a lot of people have asked if you could use the light colored on dark shirts. You can't, because there is no white in there. If there's going to be white in your image, it's going to come through as the color of your shirt, and if you have a dark shirt, then your images are not going to come through at all. So definitely best to use the paper that is recommended specifically for the color shirt you're working with. Detailed images with many disconnected pieces are difficult on dark garments. So that's if you're cutting around it and then you've got all these pieces. You do need to find a good mask to pick it up so you're transferring it all in one transfer. And the durability and feel is not as good as some of the other methods, but it is a really good feel to it. I mean, you definitely can you know, make some fantastic shirts with some, you know, washability with this product. And it can be a little bit heavier than if, you know, you were looking into laser transfers or that type of thing. But the advantage, I think the biggest advantage is this is an inexpensive way to jump in and you know, really get going with some full color transfers.
Awesome. Next up is sublimation.
Sublimation. So sublimation's a popular one in this industry. Reason why is normally because it offers the best durability out of every process, because it's not going to fade, crack, or peel as long as it's going into, well, not as long, but if you're using no standard sublimation paper in the process going into 100% polyester, you're going to have the best color output, as well as any hard surface that has a poly coating as well. So it's a very durable process, a little limited, so we'll go into that next.
So what is sublimation? It's a chemical process where the sublimation ink permanently dyes the polyester fabric. So basically, when you heat up sublimation ink, it turns into a gas. The polyester fibers will open up with the heat and accept that gas, and once cooling down, it becomes those fibers close up and it becomes a permanent transfer. The result is the best durability in the industry. There is absolutely zero feel to it. You don't have to worry about it cracking. You don't have to worry about it peeling. You don't have to really worry about it fading. I mean, when you'll have a good vibrant image on a 100% polyester shirt, and I mean, there's no, you know, stopping at it. It does require white or light colored polyester. So again, with this process, there is no white ink. So if you have white in your image and you're putting it on a pink shirt, wherever that image shows white, it's going to come through as the color of your shirt. So it'll be pink. So if you've got like a photograph, all of your whites are going to be pink, and it will alter your color somewhat because the ink is translucent. So it will take on the color of that shirt. You can do it on darker shirts like, you know, reds or blues or those types of things, as long as the ink that you're putting on that shirt is darker than the actual shirt. So like you could put like black lettering on a red shirt and it comes through great. To decorate cottons and darks, you need to have basically a carrier. So you would need like a vinyl to print on, which they do make a vinyl called Caesar Easy Subli that you can print on with your sublimation inks. And very similar to the opaque paper that we just talked about, you will want to trim around it, and then you'll lay that down on the shirt and press it the same way that you would with the opaque paper.
Okay, so equipment and supplies needed. So first up is a sublimation printer. There's many sublimation printers out there. We highly recommend a sublimation printer that is dedicated for sublimation. Reason being, converted printers such as Epson printers that are converted for sublimation tend to have issues with, ink running in the lines. Some people have success, but some people run into issues with, ink blockages. So usually we recommend a sublimation printer. Usually it's also a full setup for your sublimation printer as well. So usually design program or color profiles are already within the program. Next up is a heat press. That's going to be very important. Usually for sublimation, we tend to recommend a swing away press because a lot of customers tend to use thicker items with their processes, and it's something just that clamshell cannot do is some of those thicker items. Next would be sublimation paper. So sublimation paper, most small format sublimation paper is multi-purpose. Large format paper is multi-purpose and then tacky for some of those fabrics, which is nice if you're doing t-shirts. Next up, you need your blank t-shirt. So again, this is primarily going to be white or very light colored fabrics is what is recommended. You're going to get your best transfer and most vibrant transfer on a white shirt that is 100% polyester. If you have to use a blend, usually we say keep it about 60% polyester, 40% cotton. And then next up is your computer and design program. So again, with most of these processes, you're going to need a computer to do all of your designing and of course then send to your printer.
Okay, so how does it work? I seem to keep getting this one. The digital designs are created in your design software and then printed on sublimation paper with your sublimation printer. So basically what you'll do is do your design in whatever design program that you are comfortable with. If you do have a Sawgrass printer, there is a software that comes with it. If you have anything other than that, you can literally use Paint if you prefer. We generally use Photoshop or Illustrator here. There's a lot of programs online as well that you can use, and then you'll bring your image in there. So with this, you don't really have to worry about pulling out the background as much because it is white, and because it doesn't print white, it's only going to transfer over those colors. And then basically you just need a press that will get up to about 400 degrees and the process starts.
I have to say, Jamie looks really excited to be here in that photo.
Yep.
Sorry, I pulled some of the photos straight from our videos on our YouTube channel.
Yes, I am excited to be here today, though. Okay, so step 2, you're going to, again, get ready. So that's where we're going to go and make sure our design is nice and centered, positioned appropriately on the garment. You're going to then follow the proper pressing instructions as for your, your hard surfaces as well as your fabric. So double check settings. At Coastal Business, we put all of our instructions on the product page for the most part. So you'll find that on the product page under product instructions of what we have worked with and what we have found successful. So then once you press, you are ready to move on to step 3.
So this is the easy part. All you have to do is remove the paper and throw it away. It transfers very easily. You remove it while it's hot, and as soon as you remove the ink or the paper from the shirt, that sublimation process stops. So as soon as you're removing it and the heat is coming down, that's when it becomes a permanent image.
And same for your hard same for your hard surfaces. As soon as any process is done, you really want to remove that transfer immediately. And then just always be careful when you remove the transfer because sometimes you'll get ghosting. So always remove in a smooth, consistent motion. Try not to let your transfer fall back down on your substrate to avoid any issues.
Great. And I'm not sure if you mentioned that the paper you're using in these images. We
did not mention the paper in the images, but as I said earlier, when going over paper, there are tacky papers out there. So in this particular these particular pictures on the fabric, we're using our tech paper. So this is for large format. We're actually using it with our 570.
Sublicolor Super Sport, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think it's the Sublicolor in this particular video here. You can check that out on our YouTube channel as well for the full video if you have questions. But the tacky papers we offer just offer a nice tack for a clean transfer. That way you technically don't have to use tape. I mean, if you want to use a piece of tape here and there, you can. But you shouldn't have to use tape. It just should basically tack onto the shirt. When you remove it, it should be nice and clean. You shouldn't have any issues with anything falling back or any ghosting. It's just a nice, easy transfer.
So here are some example startup costs. So it's going to be generally a little bit more expensive than Inkjet heat transfer paper, but still very affordable. So a lot of people's entry point into creating t-shirts with sublimation is with the Sawgrass SG500. And something to know is that when you're looking to do polyester shirts like we've talked about in this presentation, you would want to get a Sawgrass with the Sublimation ink. They also have one with Is Sublimation ink, and that's more for specifically printing onto the Is Sublimation vinyl, which can be used on the dark garments as well as cotton. So in a sample bundle that we put together, we have the SG500, we have a 15 by 15 max heat press, and then 100 sheets of sublimation paper. You can see that sublimation paper is very inexpensive, and you're looking about $1,700. If you want to do larger t-shirts, you can look at the SG1000. It can do up to 11 by 17 by default, or up to 13 by 19 with the optional bypass tray that runs a couple $100. And so with the SG1000 and a 16 by 20 Geonite heat press, you're looking about $3,000.
All right, sublimation pros. Oh gosh. So there is absolutely no feel to this, as I said earlier, and it is the best durability on white or light colored polyester. You can print full color photos and designs. Literally can pull a photo out of the family photos and slap it on a t-shirt. And you can decorate a huge variety of other products like mugs, mouse pads, keychains, coasters, photo panels. We have an entire tab on our website that is dedicated to sublimation. So it makes the cost a little more justifiable because there are so many other options to what you can actually print on. Some of the cons to this, I think the biggest con that we've kind of heard is the fact that it does have to be polyester. People, when they think polyester, think of grandma's polyester and how it was thick and whatnot. But polyester has come so far in the last 10 years even. It has more of a cotton feel to it. Also, the moisture wicking type shirts or the sports shirts that a lot of the youth wear right now, those are also polyester, so you can definitely put it on there. It's just becoming more and more prevalent in the world today. But also the fact that you can't do it on dark shirts tends to be a con because people don't want just white shirts, but there's just so many options and such vibrant artwork that you can put on there. I think you could really sell it.
And I just want to say, I love sublimation just because it's so personalized. I mean, there's so many items that you can, sublimate to. There's so many packages that you can put together for, in your business, as your business plan. There's just a lot you can do with sublimation. And it's just the process of it being durable is really what sells me.
100%.
100%.
Moving along. Laser heat transfer paper. So we talked about Inkjet, then we talked about sublimation. Now let's talk about laser heat transfer paper. You may have heard of this as white toner printing. Some of the big names are Creo and formerly Oki. I'll let you take it away.
So next up, what is laser heat transfer paper? So actually, we'll first start with the process. It's a method that integrates self-weeding designs on a t-shirt and other products, including uncoated hard surfaces. So where we just talked about sublimation, that has to be coated, 100% polyester. Laser heat transfer is going to be a process where you do not have to use coated items. You can, go to your local store and pick up a mug, and you shouldn't have any issues when you transfer to it with a laser heat transfer paper. There's also self-weeding papers out there, especially for the Creo 8432 models or other white toner models that you can use. So a lot of different options there, and that's just going to speed up your production because similar to inkjet, there's also laser heat transfer papers that are not self-weighting, which kind of interfere a little bit with your production. So for the Creo and self-weighting, you're going to get on the right path.
Okay, so we'll go to what is the laser heat transfer paper. So this paper, as Jamie mentioned, is self-weeding. So that eliminates the need for the cutter and the weeding tools and those types of things. So you do need, excuse me, a white toner printer to lay down that white so you can do it onto the dark shirts. A lot of the papers that are made specifically for the white toner printers are self-weeding. So you can do the high detailed designs, the real intricate types of things, the small lettering that is murderous if you have to weed it. And there's a wide variety of papers for all different needs. So again, with like the inkjet papers, there are papers that are made specifically for dark garments and light garments. We also have the hard surface papers, the tattoo paper, and the heat sensitive surfaces like the candles. So it's like a water slide type paper. I will mention with the hard surfaces, yes, you can do these on uncoated dark coffee mugs and those types of things, but they tend to be a little more decorative, not as hardy as the sublimation type products.
So for this process, what you are first going to need is going to be a white toner laser printer. So we sell and highly recommend the Creo brand because it's a full system setup. So it's going to really get you off on the right path for your business. It includes everything you need for your business, as well as profit guides, which we'll also go into. You will also need a swing weight heat press because it's best for pressure. With the papers and the process, your settings when you're pressing are very important, and that will also set you up for success. You're going to need your laser heat transfer paper. So again, we sell, we just went over light, darks, hard surfaces, candle type surfaces, eggs. We've done eggs before. You're going to need a blank t-shirt. So again, that's going to be your cotton, your polyester, your blends, and then lights and darks. Computer and design software, again, very important for this process as well. You're going to really need a true design program, for this process, such as Photoshop or CorelDRAW. And then you're also really going to need a RIP software program. So a RIP software program, we're also going to go into a little bit more, but it's a rasterization program that will assist with the printing of your laser transfer paper. So it's going to assist with how the toner is laid on the transfer that's going to print. It's going to help that durability. It's going to help, the flow of your production as well, especially when using your self-weeding papers.
And the good news is, as we'll show in a minute, it's free with your Creo. So it comes with it.
Okay, here's an example of some of the papers that we carry. So for dark shirts, we carry the Forever Laser Dark and the Image Clip Laser Dark. Both of these are your self-weeding options. These are two-step papers, so they do require that you print onto a film, marry it to a second sheet, and then press it onto the t-shirts. And again, no background with these. We also offer a Laser One opaque paper, which very similar to the inkjet paper is printed on an all-white sheet. So you would want to trim around that and to eliminate some of that feel, but that is a good option if you have a laser printer and you do not have a white toner laser printer. The first two papers work best with white toner laser printers. Then for the light shirts, we have the Forever Laser Light, the Technoprint, and the Image Clip, and all three of these papers are self-weeding as well.
Okay, so more into examples. We have hard surface. We have the Forever Multi-Trans. We have the Technoprint hard surface and the Magic Touch CPM. So most of these are going to go on to, as you see in the pictures, mugs. You can buy keychains. You can put it on, mouse pads, wood products, notebooks. There's a lot of different products you can put it on. Really, everything almost. That can fit under a heat press. Except heat transfers are not going to melt. Other applications will be Forever Tattoo Paper, Forever Water Slide. So again, that's going to be 4 candles. We have a video when we have done it to an egg. And then Forever Flex Off, which is going to be basically just one color on your garment. So in this picture, just blue. So that's what's going to print as well.
Yeah, so one of the big advantages, obviously, of this process, just like sublimation, you not only can you create custom t-shirts with it, but it can go on hard surfaces. Now, as Meredith mentioned, these are generally going to be more decorative in nature. We wouldn't recommend necessarily using this on mugs that you're going to put in the dishwasher because, you know, eventually that can peel, whereas sublimation is a lot more durable.
Okay, so what is RIP software? The RIP software that we distribute with our Creo printers is basically a software that will convert your vector files into a raster image that your printer can understand and print. So it is necessary to get a really good print with a white toner printer. And it allows you the opportunity to do some color management and some color correction. Also, with the white, it lets you control how much you're putting down. White tends to be a little more expensive than the other colors, so definitely offers a cost savings with that when, you know, it's allowed in the artwork. And then rasterizing, if you don't know what that is, it's half tones. So if you, as you can see, if you zoom in on this tiger, it's got like little dots of color. So that's what we would call halftone or rasterization. And what that does is it allows pass through. So it makes it a little softer feel. It's not as thick, and it allows water to pass through it. So like when you're washing it or whatnot, it's going to eliminate some of that cracking because no moisture will get trapped underneath it. It'll pass through. So it definitely, you know, with the rasterization or the halftones, it is going to improve your washability. It's going to improve your durability, and it's going to make it look nice. I mean, from a distance, it's hard to really see halftones or rasterization. Once you get up close, you can see it, but I mean, it produces a great print. And it helps you estimate the cost of your prints. But again, with controlling the white and those types of things, it also is going to save you some money as well.
Yeah, rasterized images, they just feel so much softer when you actually do that.
They do. Yeah, you really can't tell. I mean, obviously in this picture we've zoomed in so you can tell, but when you're looking at the garment, unless you get really close to the garment, you can see the holes, but from, you know, a little bit far back, you can't see the holes, and it's really going to blend in with that shirt and have a nice feel. So how it works, again, you're going to use your design program. So again, you can, you know, put aspects in, take aspects out of your design program, which is going to be very important for, you know, this process as well, because while, you know, RIP programs are out there, it's not, you know, a true design program that you will need. So after you have your design ready, you're going to then send your design to your RIP program to get it ready. So again, that's where you can control certain features of the design and how the full you know, print is going to be at the end and how it's going to look, you know, on the shirt and how you would like it. So the Forever Transfer RIP, which is in this preview, at the very end, you can do a preview, same as the digital factory that comes with the Creo models. You can see, you know, what it's going to look like before you actually print. So highly recommend to do that. But again, that's just going to give you a better idea of what you can do within those programs.
So with the two-step paper, you're going to print on the film side, as I said earlier. So it literally feels like a foggy kind of grayish film that you're printing on, and it will print in reverse, and then you're going to press it to, or what as we call it, marry it to your adhesion or your emulsion sheet. So you'll do that on the press. Generally takes about 90 seconds, and then you're going to peel it very quickly, and what it's going to do is it's only going to adhere to the toner on your print so you don't have any of that background to worry about, and you're only transferring over that toner.
And you might be able to see exactly what Meredith was just saying in the image on the bottom left, where you can see the adhesive went just to the ink and toner, and it came off of the B sheet.
Yes, and the first picture, that's if you have a successful transfer. You know you have a successful transfer when all of that polymer off of the B sheet comes off to the A sheet, and you It's nice and clean. You don't see any toner. So then you're going to go ahead and place your transfer onto your garment to get it ready for the pressing portion. So as we've gone through every other process, you're going to, position it appropriately within the garment.
Okay, so once you've pressed your print onto your t-shirt, usually about 30 seconds, and the temperature depends on the paper and on the fabric of the shirt, which those instructions generally come with every pack of paper that you get. And it is different for different papers, so you definitely want to make sure that you know what paper you're using and know what works best for that. But once you have removed it from the heat source, you are going to let it cool off completely. Specifically with the self-weeding papers. And then when you're removing the transfer sheet, you're going to actually roll it from a corner, whether you prefer top or bottom. I generally prefer the top left. And you're going to roll it, applying some firm pressure as you go over the actual image.
All right, so again, we just wanted to estimate the startup cost for you with laser heat transfer paper. So the first thing you'll notice is this is a little bit more expensive than the other processes we've covered so far. So with the Creo 8432 printer, you're looking at about $8,000. This does come with the RIP software for free. RIP software can range anywhere from $500 on up. We also included a Geonite DK20S, which is the swing away version of the heat press that we've been using in this, because again, you want a swing away press for that consistent pressure and application. And then we also included a 100-pack sheet of laser dark paper for $450, and you're looking at roughly a total of about $10,000 with laser heat transfer paper and a white toner printer. Now, since that is a substantial amount of money, you might wonder, how long would it take you to pay off your printer? And our friends at Creo have a really cool calculator on their website. Their website's createwithcreo.com, and they have a profit calculator where all you have to do is you have to enter how many t-shirts you think you can print and sell per week and how much you would charge for a t-shirt with a full color print, and it'll show you how long it takes to pay off a Creo printer. And if you can make and sell 10 t-shirts at 25 bucks a pop, you can pay off your Creo printer in less than a year. So kind of helps put things in perspective, since it is a more expensive printer.
Okay, so some of the pros of the laser printer is obviously the first one is going to be no cutting, no weeding with the self-weeding papers. That is awesome. You can also print full color, intricate designs. You can decorate most types of fabrics and surfaces, cottons, polys, blends. It doesn't require any pre-treatment or any special fabric. So basically anything that is wearable, you can print on. And if you can't, it just means we probably haven't tested it yet. You can also use uncoated items like wood. You can make signs, metal, glass, acrylic. Some of the hard surface papers tend to be low heat, so you can put it on some things that wouldn't necessarily hold up well with sublimation due to the high heat. You can use metallic foils, adding a unique look, especially to the shirts. You can do those single orders, the things that the screen printers don't want to take on because they don't want to do onesie twosies. And the durability and the washability is great, especially when you're rasterizing.
Okay, so going into
Our last one.
our last process.
My favorite.
Yes, Meredith is a pro at this process.
I'm not a pro.
I'm a beginner. So direct to garment. Direct to garment is a very neat process out in the industry as well. You actually don't need any paper. You just need your direct to garment machine and the transfer. So this is a way to get custom t-shirts that have a really high durability count, somewhat close to sublimation. Obviously sublimation is kind of the one and only. But it does really have a good durability with this product. So let's get into that a little bit further.
Okay, so what is direct-to-garment printing? So basically, this printer is going to print directly onto the garment, hence the name, DTG. It's pretty cool. You would do your designing in whatever design program that you are comfortable with. The Epson has a basically a RIP type software. So you'll drop in your image into that RIP type software. PNGs work best because it does eliminate that background. And then you place it onto the template on your software, and you hit print, and it'll print on the shirts. So these shirts ideally are going to be cotton, 100% cotton, ring spun. The tighter the weave, the better the print you're going to get. The darker shirts do require pre-treatment, either you pre-treating them or purchasing pre-treated shirts. And then you just print right on the shirt, and it's amazing. It'll lay down the white first and then the color. It's got a very similar feel to it as silk screening.
Okay, so equipment, supplies needed. So, of course, your direct-to-garment printer. You can purchase already pre-treated shirts, which, you know, it definitely will just kind of quicken up your production speed there. A flash dryer or a heat press to cure the image onto the garment after the process is finished. And then, of course, you can use the sprayer. If you would like to pre-treat on your own, you can use the pre-treatment machine, which is definitely an easier process and more consistent across the board. And then blank t-shirts is also what you need. Again, that's if you are doing the pre-treating yourself. You need to purchase 100% polyester, or 100% cotton, or, you know, for certain pre-treats, you can do the polyester, of course, as well.
All right, so we'll go ahead and just get into the startup costs on this. This process is a little bit more self-explanatory, and I know we're getting here at the top of the hour, so we wanted to kind of quicken things up here. So a DTG machine is generally going to be the highest startup cost of any of these processes. The advantage is it's one of the most hands-off processes. So what you're paying in a startup cost, you are also saving in labor, because, you know, you're not having to marry papers together and do different or weed vinyl and things like that. You are just putting the t-shirt on the platen and it's printing it. So basically, if you are going to do direct to garment and you're just going to buy already pre-treated shirts, you're looking at about 15.5K. So pre-treated shirts are actually very reasonably priced, almost to the point where I wouldn't see why you wouldn't just buy pre-treated shirts, because you can get them for $4-5 a pop, and then you can, you know, resell this t-shirt for a lot more and make very good margins. However, if you want to make even higher margins, you can pre-treat your own t-shirts. And so you're looking at roughly $3,000 for a pre-treatment machine. Now, as we showed on the other slide, you can use the sprayer, but that's really hard to use, and you're not going to get as consistent results as if you use a pre-treatment machine.
So some of the pros and cons. The pros is you do get great print quality for the shirts and all the methods mentioned. There is no weeding. You just got to use a nice, clean PNG. There's no papers, no vinyl. There's no extra work other than the pre-treating. And I mean, basically the printer does it all. It even does its own maintenance. As you know, you turn it on and it'll let you know, hey, do a head cleaning for me, or hey, do this. So that's awesome. It requires less time and labor to operate. So basically, you know, if you have 5 shirts to do, you hit 5 and it'll just tell you when it's done and to put another shirt on, and you hit the little start button, and that's really all there is to it. DTG is very easy to learn and to get started. The printing process of it is super easy. You get a very soft feel and excellent durability. You have, I mean, the washability is very similar to that of a silkscreen shirt, so you've got that advantage as well. And I don't know if we've mentioned this earlier, fabric softener is not good with any of these processes. So liquid fabric softener, I would stay away from this to silkscreen to heat transfer papers. It does not do well with graphic tees at all. You can profit on single orders. So you can also take the orders, that silk screeners don't want to do if they have a 5 or a 6. Also the advantage, and I've had this because I used to be a silk screener, somebody orders it, 2 weeks later, they decide they need another one. You don't have to worry about burning another screen. You just flip up another one and you're good to go. The con to this, it does have a bit of a higher startup cost. The t-shirts have to be pre-treated, and this is an art. I know that we mentioned the Wagner sprayer, and I have done the Wagner sprayer, but your print is only as good as your pre-treatment. So hand spraying it is very manual, so you have to make sure that you're doing it very evenly. I would highly recommend either getting pre-treated shirts or to get an actual pre-treater, so then it's being pre-treated correctly. It works best with tight weave cottons, not just a cheap cotton shirt. You want to have a tight weave, like a ring spun cotton. I know a lot of people tend to gravitate towards the Bellas, and they print up very, very well. And it's not as cost effective for large volume jobs. So if you have 150 shirts and you're only putting a 2-color image on there, silk screening is probably going to be your better bet. But I mean, it can be done. We have customers that have a couple of these machines and they just crank, the t-shirts out, and they're doing very well with it. So it just comes down to individual choice.
Okay, so comparing the options, Matthew just made the handout available for these slides, so you don't have to write all this down either. But this is just going over what we talked about today in terms of startup costs, fabrics, hard surfaces, if it's compatible, full color, durability, print quality, and learning curve. So again, that's going over your heat transfer vinyl, your inkjet heat transfer paper, sublimation process, the laser heat transfer paper process, and then direct to garment. So again, this is going to be a good reference guide to go over, when choosing either what you want to start with, what you want to add, and so forth.
All right, and here we are at the end. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Last thing we wanted to mention is if you are ready to start today or in the near future, we have great financing options through our partners at ACG Equipment Finance. We also have Quick Spark as well as Affirm. And all of those are low monthly payments with a fast approval process. We have a great page, coastalbusiness.com/finance. You can take a 30-second quiz to see which financing option is right for you. So, and of course, if you have any questions, we are all available here. You can contact Meredith at coastalbusiness.com, Jamie at jwisdom@coastalbusiness.com. But again, this was super fun, and thank you for sticking around. We know this was a long one, but we wanted to be as thorough as possible. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your Thursday. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.